Can I tell you, I've been waiting a long time to see Paul Craig do the right thing and move down to middleweight. I didn't think it'd be a possibility. I didn't think he'd actually be able to cut the weight. But I would always look at him and I'm like, man, this dude is such a savage. But he is, I mean, 6'3", right? Yeah, you're tall. He's never had a light heavyweights frame. And now he decides I'm moving down to middleweight and I want to take, well, you didn't get a choice. You got matched up. I'm matched up with a guy who is pretty much my clone, except there's a couple fundamental differences that we're going to have to talk about. But before anything, what do you think about the move to middleweight for Paul Craig?
I love it and hate it at the same time, Derek. I love it because we've seen this coming from him. You're right. Not the best build for 185, but now that he's jumping down, he's going to be very solid. He's going to look good. Paul Craig is going to be fighting at a different kind of pace and with style, not necessarily style, but pace and speed than we're used to seeing at middleweight, man. I'm excited for this, but on the other end of that sword, because it is a double-edged sword, Derek, will he actually do a good weight cut? I know I was watching his pre-fight presser and they said they did a bad one first just to test out how he feel. Now they're going to do the good one. Not sure if, as a coach, not sure if that is the best strategy, but I'm excited to see how he looks on this scale. Because if Homeboy is just depleted, rough, feeling it, we've seen a lot of these older fighters that have come to, a point in their career where they drop down just to get one back. We listed it before, TJ Dillashaw's. One we were just talking about before, Derek.
Cody Garbrandt?
No, Julia Soliarenko.
Oh, yeah. That's
Cody
right.
Garbrandt as well. That's a good one, too. But this is, will that aspect also play into this fight with Paul Craig?
I think it all just comes into the consideration of what he normally walked around at, man. If you get a little more disciplined with your diet and you cut down the weight, I'm sure you should be fine. The other thing you have to consider is that there probably should be a weight class in between 205 and 185 because you can be a tweener, and it can be tough to kind of bounce between both. One more time, just to clarify, because like I said, the people, they do be roasting in the comments. Paul Craig moving down from 205 to 185. We've seen some interesting things at 205, now here at 185, and going against Andre Muniz, who just got his 9-fight win streak snapped by all-in Brendan Allen in his last fight. You have to take into consideration the two holes that these fighters pretty much have in their game, and I think it's pretty similar, man. Both of them are not incredible strikers, right? Muniz has a fantastic left hand out of that southpaw stance. Paul Craig, really nice check hooks. Neither fighter have impressive wrestling. And I think that's the biggest downfall, is that off their back, both of them can do nasty things. I see Muniz as much more of a top control jiu-jitsu guy versus a bottom game jiu-jitsu guy. Paul Craig is better off of his back, in my opinion. But the thing is how do you get the fight there? And we know what's one of Paul Craig's specialties, AJ. You throw a kick, you catch the kick, tree top him, take him down. However, Paul Craig tends to eat a lot of shots in those spots. And if you're talking about a diminished chin due to a weight cut, it does worry me. But then again, does Andre Muniz, does he pack the punch of a Jamal Hill or a Magomed Ankalaev or a Kennedy Nchekwu or a Shogun Hua or a Nikita Krylov, AJ? That's the question that we need to ask. What do you think?
I don't think so, Derek. I was just browsing the notes right now to see the last time. Okay. I mean, I was looking at the wrong side. Andre Muniz, has he won one of his fights? Yeah, it was a long time ago, 2017 by TKO. It's been a while. Does he provide enough strength? Does he have the crack? Does he have the power to get a shot done? I don't think so, Derek, personally. Although I do think this is one thing we've seen multiple times. We have two jiu-jitsu specialists going at it. They end up not playing any jiu-jitsu at all and just standing there knuckle to knuckle in a phone booth in that kind of chaos. Do you see that's going to happen? I could already see you shaking your head and we're going to say nah. But if it does, who gets the better of that phone booth fight?
I can see it happening. Don't get me wrong. I think it's less likely to happen just because if you watch these guys in a strictly kickboxing matchup, it's not the prettiest thing that you've ever seen. And I think they both feel a lot better if they can get to their sweet spot, which is at least in the clinch or try to get some type of grappling going. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I think Andre Muniz probably gets the better in a kickboxing affair here, simply because we've seen him have to kind of go without I can't get the takedown. Let's figure something out. You know what I mean? We've seen it. He has that really good left hand out of that southpaw stance. Decent jab. I just wouldn't say there's anything phenomenal out of the striking. Paul Craig, the difference is that his striking still isn't super duper sharp, right? Good check hooks, but he's very aggressive. And I think he's more aggressive than Andre Muniz. And I think his striking is going to lend itself into grappling opportunities. I don't always see the same thing from Muniz. I do see big shots coming from Muniz, but they both end up in that same kind of spot where you're halfway in on a double, your head is stuck on their hip, and then somebody could start dropping down elbows to get them out of there. Both fighters do it. You don't want to see it from either guy. But let's talk about the grappling. AJ, who gets the better out of a straight up grappling affair right here, man? They both have such different styles and they're so high level. And Paul Craig is going to be coming in with a very notable, I think, strength advantage, personally.
I do, and I do see Paul Craig coming in as the aggressor, as the more impactful one, especially off the jump. I think he's going to impose his will on Andre Muniz. And you're right. I also see Andre Muniz as being the better top jiu-jitsu player, where Paul Craig is going to be hunting for a finish. Man, that's an interesting one, Derek. I might have to just relegate this one to you, just because you're the jiu-jitsu guy here. Which aspect of those two games do you actually see being more fruitful in the endeavor?
I think Paul Craig's jiu-jitsu is more effective for a finish. I think Andre Muniz's jiu-jitsu is more effective for a decision, even though he finishes a ton of guys. He has more submission wins, right? Muniz, it looks like he has 15 of 23 wins via submission, 13 of 16 for Paul Craig. So it's similar. If you look at like totality, percentage-wise, I mean, Craig does have a higher percentage, but neither here nor there. Paul Craig will pull guard. We've seen it multiple times, and he'll work a lot out of that butterfly hook, so they can go ahead and try to sweep from there, drop into a triangle, whatever the case may be. Andre Muniz, a lot of back takes, arm triangle situations, or just pure out control. I think that if we find ourselves in that situation, man, Andre Muniz wins because he's the guy on top. And in MMA, the guy on top wins, and it just is what it is, right? So that's why it's tough, but I cannot factor in enough, and I'm sorry, because coming from a guy who does jiu-jitsu, like, strength matters, dude. You can be technical as ever. If you're technical and really strong, like, that's just an extra weapon right there. That's why, AJ, I am inclined to rock with Paul Craig in this fight. Now, I do think that this is the difference, too. Plus 1,400 is a little confusing for me for a TKO prop. Paul Craig, out of these two fighters, from my film study, is the more likely to initiate ground and pound from submission attempts than Andre Muniz is. I feel like Andre Muniz is much more, I'll just fish for the submissions all day long. So I like that plus 1,400 TKO because I have a hard time seeing him submit Andre Muniz until Brendan Allen just submitted him in the third round. And the later the fight goes, those opportunities are going to open up. So, AJ, I'm inviting you. Give me your pick. How does this fight go down, and who wins and why?
Derek, I actually see this one going the distance. I'm taking the decision. I'm going with Muniz. I think we're going to see a very beautiful fight in the beginning once these guys are going. But the longer this fight goes, it's going to turn more and more into that ugly kickboxing you were talking about before. Maybe some grappling, some attempts, but I see the draining happening. I see these boys getting tired and having an absolute brawl. It's going to be a fun time, folks. When I said ugly kickboxing, don't get me wrong. It's still going to be a great time. We're going to see some solid technique from both these guys, but I think they're both just going to be just like two. I don't even know a good analogy for it, folks. It's going to be an entertaining fight. Give me Andre Muniz. Give me that 450 decision.
And I'm taking a wild swing here, folks, just because when you have two guys who are matched up so similar to each other, all conventional logic kind of goes out the window. I'm going to rock with Paul Craig here, and I'm going to rock with that plus 1,400 TKO. I want to see ground and pound finish off of a submission attempt, similar to the way that he did to, the Jamal Hill, it's counted as a TKO, but really you snap the arm and then they wouldn't stop fighting, so you have to then beat him up some more, right? Look at the fight before that, what he did to Shogun Rua, you know what I mean? I just think that he has the capacity to do that stuff. And with that being said, man, yeah. So give me the TKO, Paul Craig, decision for my man Andre Muniz on AJ's side. And with that being said, bro, let's just move on to the next one, man.